Hi, in this video we will learn how to solve absolute value equations. Almost every absolute value equation has two answers because absolute value is really a positive or a negative. Absolute value of a negative number is the same as the absolute value of a positive number. So for this first easy example, we have absolute value of x equals 12. Again, almost every equation will have two answers. This one's easy. We're going to have x equals the opposite of 12, which is negative 12, as one of your answers, and x equals positive 12 as your other answer. In other words, if I take the absolute value of negative 12, I end up with positive 12. If I take the absolute value of positive 12, I also end up with positive 12. So that one's easy. However, next one, we have absolute value of x minus 6 equals 10. We're still going to have two answers, so we're going to split this equation up into two separate equations. For the first separate equation, drop the absolute values and change this number on the other side to a negative. So we have x minus 6 equals negative 10. For the second equation, we're going to drop the absolute values, so just x minus 6, no more absolute value, but this side will just equal positive 10. Now we solve each of these equations individually. To get x by itself, add 6 to both sides of both equations. To get your final answers of x equals negative 4 and x equals 16. For the next question, notice that the absolute value is not yet by itself, where in the previous question, the absolute value was already all by itself on the left side. So our first step is to get the absolute value by itself on the left side. To do that, we will subtract 3 from both sides of the original equation, leaving us with absolute value of 2x equals positive 4. Now we can split this into two separate equations. The first equation will be 2x equals negative 4, and the second equation is 2x equals positive 4. Divide by 2 in both sides of both equations to get final answers of x equals negative 2 and x equals positive 2. It is a coincidence that they are opposites, a negative 2 and a positive 2, because notice that in this previous question, we had a negative 4 and a positive 16. They were not opposites. Yes, one was negative, one was positive, but they weren't the same number. Our next equation, we have absolute value of 2x minus 4 plus 13 equals 10. Absolute value is not by itself, so we have to get the absolute value by itself first by subtracting 13 from both sides of the equation, leaving us with absolute value of 2x minus 4 is equal to negative 3. Wait, an absolute value always makes your answer positive, but here we're saying an absolute value equals a negative. So if you ever end up with absolute value equals negative, you will have no solution. I think my math lab might use that symbol for no solution. It's called the empty set, meaning nothing is a solution. And our last example here, you see, we've got a negative, but your absolute value is not yet by itself. So our first step is to get the absolute value by itself. To do that, start by subtracting 1 from both sides. Absolute value is still not by itself since there's nothing written between this -3 and that absolute value. That's really a multiplication. So divide both sides by -3, leaving us with absolute value of 2x minus 1 is equal to a positive 4. Now our absolute value equals a positive. We will have two solutions. Split up into two separate equations. For the first, drop the absolute value symbols and equal the opposite other side to a negative. In the other equation, drop the absolute values and keep the other side positive. To solve, add 1 to both sides of both equations. And then divide both sides of both equations by 2 to give you the final answers of x equals -3/2 and x equals positive 5/2. In the next video, we will learn how to solve absolute value inequalities. Thanks for watching.